Alright guys, today we're going to look at how to factor a trinomial. Okay, we're going to look at how to factor a trinomial. Now today a, which is our leading coefficient, a is going to be equal to 1. Okay, a is going to be equal to 1 for today. Let's go back and let's review. Right, if I have two binomials, okay, I can multiply these two binomials using either the FOIL or the box method. Right, so I'm going to FOIL this one out. If I was to FOIL this, I would have 2x times x. I get 2x squared. 2x times a positive 4 is going to give me a positive 8x. Now I'm doing the inside, right? So negative 3 times x is a negative 3x and negative 12. Now we're going to combine like terms and we get 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. That would be the FOIL method. Number 2, I'll box this one. Okay, so again this goes here, so 4x minus 5, 7x plus 2. I'm going to multiply to get inside the box, so 4x times 7x, 28x, negative 35x, positive 8x, minus 10. Now once again, let's combine like terms. 28x minus 17x minus, 27x minus 10. Last one we're going to multiply here, so again, x times x, x squared, negative 5x, positive 2x, negative 10, combine like terms, x squared minus 3x minus 10. Right, so what we're doing here is we're taking a binomial, we're multiplying a binomial, and we're ending up with a trinomial. So what we're going to learn today is how to work the exact opposite, right? We're going to work backwards. We're going to take a trinomial and factor it into two binomials. So we're going to do the exact opposite of our FOIL and box method. Okay, we're going to work backwards and find our two binomials. Alright, so we call this the diamond method. Okay, you could also hear it said as the asterisk method. It means the same thing. Okay, so we're looking at number 1, right? This is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. That's standard form for a quadratic. Right, and I told you that today our a, which is the leading coefficient, is going to be equal to 1. All right, now this is important because these terms here, a, b, and c, okay, are going to become very, very important in my asterisk. All right, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to take a and c, right? So in this case, a is going to be 1, b is going to be 4, c is going to be negative 12. A times c is going to go in this top box. Now today, again, a is going to be 1. So 1 times negative 12 is still negative 12. So it's no big deal today. But when we get to more trinomials, we'll start having a leading coefficient other than 1. Right? So it's important to take 1 or a times c. In this case, it's negative 12. So that's going to go in the top of our asterisk method. And the bottom is going to go b, which in this case is a positive 4. So what you're doing is you're looking for factors of a times c. In this case, we're looking for factors of negative 12. Now, what does that mean? That means two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 12. Okay, that's what factors are. Factors are two numbers that multiply together to give me this number. So we're looking for factors that multiply to give me a negative 12, but they need to add, okay, or combine, I should say, to give me b, which in this case, b is a positive 4. Now, I know that in order to multiply to get a negative, my signs have to be opposites. And that's why I say when we combine these, we need to get a positive 4, because one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So basically, we're going to subtract our factors. Okay, so what are some factors of 12? Some factors of 12 would be 1 and 12, right? And it could be a negative 1 and a positive 12, but it could also be a positive 1 and a negative 12. Now, if I take negative 1 times 12, I get negative 12. That's where my factors come from. But again, we need to add, or combine, to get positive 4. So if I take 12, positive 12, and I subtract 1, that gives me a positive 11. That's not positive 4. So those are not the factors that I'm using. Same thing here. If I take 1 and I subtract 12, that gives me a negative 11. Again, I'm looking for positive 4. So those are not the factors that I'm using. Some more factors of 12 would be negative 2 and 6, but also positive 2 and negative 6. Because these multiply to give me negative 12. But now I need to add to get a positive 4. 6 minus 2, positive 4. So I know right now that these are my two factors, right? Why is that the case? Because these multiplied to give me a negative 12, but they combined, in this case one was positive, one was negative, to give me a positive 4, which is my b term. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these puppies and we're going to write them in these two blanks. Negative 2, positive 6. Right? So we're going to take this piece and this piece, and we're going to write them in parentheses with the x. Okay? Or, may not always be x. In this case, it's always going to be an x. But what term times what term gives me x squared? That's what's going in the first of my parentheses right here. Well, I know it's got to be x times x to get x squared. Now we just take this, fill it in. We take this, fill it in. There's my answer. Now let's think about this, right? Again, what we know is we know how to multiply two binomials together. And what we're learning today is how to take my trinomial and work backwards to get to my two binomials. So I should always be able to multiply this out and get back to this answer. I should always be able to check myself by using the FOIL or the box method and get back to my original question. Okay, well, let's double check. X times x, x squared. X times positive 6, positive 6x. Negative 2 times x is a negative 2x. Negative 12. So when I combine these together, I got 6 minus 2. That's going to give me 4x squared plus 4x minus 12. Right, so my answer is this binomial right here. Alright, let's go to number 5. Okay, again, number 5. I've got this in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. I know in this case a is 1. So what I'm going to do is in my top of my asterisk, I'm going to put a times c. So in this case, 1 times 30, which is 30. In the bottom goes my b term, which is a negative 17. So again, what we're doing is we're looking for factors of a times c that's going to add to give me my b term, which is negative 17. Now, we know we're going to multiply to get a positive 30. Alright, so there's two options, two ways to multiply to get a positive in math. You can multiply two positive numbers, and you can multiply two negative numbers. How do I know the difference? Okay, well, if I need to add to get a negative 17, there's no way for you to add two positive numbers to get a negative number. So you know right now that both of my signs here for my factors have got to be negative. Let's talk about that again, right? I've got to multiply to get a positive number. So it can be positive, positive, or negative times negative. So if you have a positive in the back right here, you know that this is the sign of your factors. Whereas if we go back to number 1, we had a negative in the back. Well, there's only one way to multiply to get a negative, and that's with different signs. That's why one of these was positive, one of these was negative. In this case, I've got a plus sign right here. So I know it can either be plus plus or minus minus, and that's dependent on what that sign is. Since that sign's a minus, we know our factors need to both be negative. So if both of my factors are negative, we're going to actually add them to get a negative 17. Alright, so some factors of 30. Right, we go 3 and 10, so negative 3, negative 10. Okay, if I was to add those together, that's going to give me a negative 13. Again, I want a negative 17, so I know that those aren't the factors that I'm using. A negative 2 and a negative 15. When I add those together, I get negative 17. Oh, fantastic. So those are my two factors. Now, once again, those go here, negative 2, negative 15. So I'm going to set up my parentheses. Again, the first term needs to multiply to give me x squared. Well, in this case, it's got to be x times x. Now we fill it in with this minus 2. Fill it in with this minus 15. Bam, there's your answer. Again, you're not sure, we can always double check ourselves. Use the FOIL or the box method to work back, and you should get your original problem. Alright, let's go to number 9. Again, this is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So we know in this case, we're looking for factors of a times c, 25, because a is 1, that add or combine to give me a negative 10. So again, I look at the sign in the back. If that's a plus sign, you know you either have a plus plus or a minus minus. just like I talked about on number 5. Well, in this case, it's got to be a minus minus because I've got to combine them, add them together to get a negative number. If you add 2 and 4, you don't get a negative. It's got to add 2 negative numbers to get a negative. So A times C, factors of 25, 1 and 25, they both need to be negative. That's going to give me a negative 26. Again, we will need to combine to get a negative 10. So those aren't the factors that I'm using. More factors of 25, 5 and 5. Again, they both have to be negative because negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. But negative 5 plus negative 5 is a negative 10. Oh my goodness, that's my B term. So we know that these are our 2 factors. They go here and here. So again, we set up our parentheses. In the first term, I need to multiply to get x squared. Well, it's got to be x times x. I fill in the minus 5. I fill in the minus 5. Now, does it matter what order these parentheses are written in? No, it doesn't. Okay, could this be written x minus 15, x minus 2? Absolutely. It's the same exact answer. Could this one have been written x plus 6, x minus 2? Absolutely. It's the same exact answer. Okay, so it does not matter the order of your parentheses. What does matter is that your parentheses have the right signs and numbers. Right? That plus 6, it's got to be a plus 6. It can't be a minus 6. Because if you were to FOIL that out, you would not get back to this original problem. All right, let's hop down to number 2. Okay, number 2. This is ax squared plus bx plus c. So we know a times c is going to give me a positive 2. And we need to combine to get my b term, which is a negative 3. Now, once again, we have a plus sign in the back. That means my factors have the same sign. What sign? They both have to have that sign. So they both have to be negative. So factors of a times c, in this case, factors that multiply to give me 2, but combine to give me negative 3. We know they both have to be negative. So factors of 2, 1, and 2. Okay, that was easy. Negative 1 and negative 2 combine to give me negative 3. So again, these fill in right here. Negative 1, negative 2. We'll set up our parentheses. Put an x in both. Minus 1, bam. Minus 2, bop. There's your answer. Let's go down to, let's see. Let's go down to number 4. Let's do another one that has a minus sign in the back. Alright, now once again, ax squared plus bx plus c. So we know in my top of my asterisk goes a times c, which in this case is 1 times negative 54. So we're looking at factors of 54 that combine to give me a 15. Now once again, if I've got to multiply to get a negative, I know that my factors have to have opposite signs. So we know one has to be positive, one has to be negative. And they have to combine to get a 15, positive 15. So some factors of 54. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, this is going to look at sorry, 9 and 6. Alright, now, if I'm looking at factors of 54, again, they have to have opposite signs. So we know right now that positive 9 times negative 6 is going to give me 54, but when I add these, I'm going to get a positive 3. Again, I'm looking for 15. Okay, so I know that's not right. Now, could the opposite? Could this be a positive 6 and a negative 9? Absolutely, because that still multiplies to give me 54. But again, when I add these together, 6 minus 9 is negative 3. I'm looking for positive 15. All right, so some more factors. What about negative 18 and positive 3? Because negative 18 times positive 3 is a negative 54, but when I combine these, I get negative 15. Now again, I want a positive 15, so we know we're close. So all we need to do is take these two and switch the sign. So it needs to be a positive 18 and a negative 3. Because 18 times negative 3 is a negative 54, which is A times C. When I combine these, 18 minus 3 is a positive 15. Fantastic. So those are our two factors. 18 goes here, negative 3 goes here. And we're going to fill in our parentheses. Put an X in both. We've got positive 18. We've got negative 3. Alright, last one. Let's look at number 8. Again, in the top of my asterisk goes A times C, and the bottom goes B. So in this case, A is 1 times 12. I'm looking at two numbers that multiply to give me a positive 12. So we know we have to have the same signs because it's got to multiply to give me a positive. And they need to combine to give me a negative, so we know that both of my factors need to be negative. So we just figured out that A times C needs to be negative and negative. Again, why is that the case? Because two negatives multiply to give me a positive, and two negatives add to give me a negative. So I'm looking at factors of 12. Well, 1 and 12, they got to combine to give me a negative 8. That combines to give me negative 13. So those are not right. Negative 2, negative 6, that's got to combine to give me a negative 8. It's going to multiply to give me a positive 12. So we know that those are our two factors. So negative 2 goes here, negative 6 goes here. Set up our parentheses, put an X in both. There's your answer.